You might want to hold your breath for the following. Air quality in many British cities is now at dangerous levels. Asthma deaths are higher than they've been for a decade, and 2/3 of asthma sufferers say poor air quality can trigger an attack. All this comes as a national obsession with cycling that borders on a sort of religious devotion continues unchecked. You know who you are. A dose of common sense is desperately needed to end this infatuation. Don't the numbnuts who run the planning and road departments get the link? In London, vast tracts of road space have been lost to cycle lanes and superhighways. That means traffic is now crossing the city at the slowest rate since the 1860s, when Greg was a boy, which in turn means buses, taxis and trucks are stuck belching out potentially lethal toxic fumes. It's not restricted to London. In Manchester, they want to create a mini Holland, dear God. And in Edinburgh, they've the most bizarre idea of stop-and-start cycle lanes. Now, of course, cyclists need to be protected from death and serious injury, but measures that can poison or endanger the rest of us are hardly the solution. Will the fanatical cycling lobby ever see this? Well, time now not to hold your breath.
I mean, you know something. There was such a massive logical flaw in your argument. I agree. Our main cities are clogged. The main arteries are clogged. But that is not the fault of cyclists. It's the fault of millions of cars on the roads all day. And if there's only one benefit... I mean, I'm glad, I have to say, I don't have to endure the sight of you, a middle-aged man in lycra, screaming at me when I dare to take my car out.
You will when we buy our house together, but anyway.
But listen... Cycling, I can't believe it's like talking to a toddler, is cleaner, it's greener, it's safer, Nick.
Yeah.
There were how many deaths on the roads from cycling were there last year?
I think it was 16. In London, I'm sorry, in
London.
London.
There are 55. How many deaths from cars?
I have no idea.
700.
Right. The car is still the most popular form of transport.
Yes, and that is exactly the problem. If we all get in our cars, yes, we are going to die of smog. And I've got a diesel, and I should probably get rid of it.
Okay.
But we should all be cycling, even you, Nick. Even you.
Don't be so
Come on,
stupid.
it makes perfect
by the way,
sense.
I do occasionally.
I'm all in favour of the cycle superhighways.
Well, of course you are, because your brother invented them.
No, I'm not.
Your brother succeeded where the Luftwaffe failed. He's actually brought London to a standstill. I like the bloke, but he's absolutely bonkers.
I put this to him last night, and he said, you tell Nick Ferrari, you love this, don't you? Love the attention.
God, yeah.
That since the East-West...
Please don't tell me he still thinks it's a good idea.
Since the East-West cycle school superhighway has been built on the embankment, there is faster throughput, he says.
Well, he's just...
No, because there are joggers, cyclists... The cars may be dawdling in traffic, but they can turn their engines off.
Just have a look round here. Have a look at the cameras, have a look at all the monitors, have a look at all the clothes, have a look at all the chairs, have a look at this, have a look at this, have a look... How do you think it all got there? Do you think it all came on a bicycle?
Those are deliveries. They can be done at night.
Oh, don't be so ridiculous.
They'll be being done by drones.
Well, they will if you follow tubes over there.
Well, I'm a car driver and I am a cyclist. And earlier this year, I cycled to Amsterdam. And it was fantastic. We went Bruges, Ghent, Antwerp, you name it, and we did it all pretty much in cycle lanes. There was only a small portion of my journey that I was on an actual road, and it was brilliant. I had a speaker in my bike, and it was excellent, and it was lovely, and it was safe.
Just get rid of the programme.
I like cycle superhighways for those reasons. It makes life as a cyclist easier. Now, where I think we've got the balance wrong, to your point, is I do feel that there is too much congestion because you've taken up the road space, you've stuck cycle superhighways in, which I use, but when I am in my car, I am deeply frustrated by the traffic management systems, aka the traffic lights, because what they haven't seemed to do is have reflected the new changes on the roads. So the traffic flow is appallingly bad in some places because one car gets through or two cars. So keep the superhighways, but make sure that you are supplementing that with proper traffic management, would be my view.
I'll take that.
I cycled a bit, and I was cycling. Some woman shouted at me and told me I was the oldest lycra lout you've ever seen.
A lycra lout?
A lycra lout. Well, I was cycling on a railway platform where I suspect you're not supposed to cycle, myself and some others.
You can get us both for that.
Some of your argument, Nick, is if you take all the cycle lanes off, you get more cars, and it's still blocked up, and it's still have all that.
No.
I mean, if you want to do something about the quality of the air, then you've actually.
And that's the important thing.
Yeah, I agree with you.
In cities across the land.
Ban diesels. We're in a low emission zone here.
But the real trouble is, it's very difficult to stand up and say. I mean, I spend a lot of time in York, a city where it would benefit massively if they had no cars at all. But actually, it's very hard for a politician to stand up and say that. And the last one who did lost his seat, you know. And
this is
the real truth is, the more interesting thing now, I think, is that my kids' generation
don't drive.
Cars aren't relevant to them, really.
They're
they have a car,
clubs.
could borrow it occasionally, but actually they know, and you can no longer park in London at anything like a price they can afford. There's good bus services, there's good rail services, there's good tube services, and they use those in a way that my generation, and probably yours, getting your car was, you know, I'm a bloke
This
now.
is turning a little bit, and I just want to say, I'm not just solely tackling cycling for the sake of it. It is the air quality that's driving it.
Sure.
And having vehicles backed up in Manchester or Leicester where there's going to be a scheme,
there are
or
too
Bristol
many
where there's going to be a
cars.
scheme.
How many times we have to say this,
London,
Nick?
which is a city I know well, where your brother was criminally insane, is instead of going down the main roads, and I won't bore everybody outside London, but there's a road called the Embankment, he should have woven them all up in the side streets. But he couldn't do it because the boroughs wouldn't let him. He could only get TfL roads, Transport for London roads.
Was he criminally insane before Brexit or after?
You started now. No.
It's a vicious, for want of a better word, vicious cycle, because,
see
not
what you did
intended.
there.
The thing is, right, if we had more cycle lanes, more people would cycle, there'd be fewer cars on the roads, and the congestion you're speaking of would improve. The problem at the moment is we're kind of caught in a log where there are lots of people cycling. I'm one of them. I cycle. Life-changing for me. You know, it's a way of getting where I need to get to without getting stuck in traffic. I get my exercise, I get my heart rate up, I feel good, I get to see the sky, it helps with my mental health. It's brilliant. But it's still dangerous. 100 people are dying on the road from bikes, 3,000 injured. It's much safer than driving, but it's still dangerous. That puts a lot of people off. So the point of Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, saying he wants to invest more in cycling, it just makes perfect sense to me. If you get more people cycling, you tip the balance. There'll be fewer cars getting congested in those hotspots. There'll be more people being healthy and active on bikes, and everyone will be better.
Do you think people drive in London or Manchester? Do you think they drive their cars for pleasure? You don't honestly think they drive because they very well have to?
There are a number of reasons. There are deliveries, which actually the evidence is a lot of congestion now is from online deliveries, which, you know, that's a separate issue.
Okay.
And I actually genuinely think drones will make a difference to that.
Okay.
But a lot of people... Before I started cycling, when I was working and I needed to get from A to B in central London, there wasn't an obvious tube route, I would get a cab. I would get a cab, that's another car on the road, it'd be very frustrating, be sitting there in traffic.
No. Private cars.
Now I would just hop on my bike.
You think people watching this show now, I tell you, what should we do today? Let's go for a drive through Birmingham city centre or London. You're raving mad.
Why do 30 to 40% of people in the Netherlands cycle every day?
I don't care. It's like him banging on about Sweden. Why, when you're losing an argument, you always point to another country? By the way, in America... Sorry, go on.
They have the same things to do as we do. They have to get to work. They have to pick up their kids. They need to get around. Why do they not need
They've got canals. They can all cycle up and down the towpath. We haven't got canals in London.
They're building cycle lanes for the same
When I lived in Washington...
Here we go again. Here we go again. This is unbelievable.
No, but actually it occurs to me.
Incredible.
I could not walk from A to B because they do not have sidewalks in our neighbourhood, so you had to drive. So, in fact, the transport, the road infrastructure completely determines the transport choices you make. So when I was in DC, I had to drive my kids from A to B, even though I could quite have easily walked. But nobody did. If we have cycle lanes, Af was right, more people will cycle. It will become normalised, as it has in Amsterdam.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, and you will agree with me, I'm sure, at some point on this.
Okay.
If you had drones doing those deliveries...
You and drone. Can I say you're droning on?
We're going to drop Nick onto the pledge from his LBC studio soon by drone. Now, I can't believe I'm saying this, that Nick's solution to the problem of air pollution is to stop cycling and allow cars a free ride of the highway. On your bike.
And he tried to say it with a straight face as well.
It's a good job you're not in charge of policy, isn't it, really?
Not quite what I said.